For health purposes, it is valuable to train every single muscle in your body. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And yes, you guys see me right there. Maybe not the most flattering angle, but you guys see me right there even training my neck. And then you'll notice throughout this video just some random training clips of mine, everything from my calves to my neck being trained. Now, sure, people will argue about aesthetics or muscle balance or whatever, looking a certain way. Yeah, it makes sense to train everything for that, but let's set that aside. Let's not even talk about looking good. Let's not even talk about looking great naked. Let's talk about your health. If you want to be fit and healthy, it makes sense to train every muscle in your body. And I'm going to make a case for why that is. People will say, well, does that mean to avoid muscle imbalances and injuries and all that? Minor. That's minor. It comes down to the simple fact that two things. Number one, there is no upward limit to the amount of muscle that you can gain that contributes to health benefits. Okay? Now, when people hear that, they'll say, but how come this bodybuilder has that problem with that? It's not because they gained muscle. It's because they use copious amounts of illicit substances that have negative health effects to gain that muscle. Okay, that's why. It's nothing to do with the muscle growth, and we need to be clear on that. It is not biologically and medically possible for you to gain too much muscle to where it doesn't have health benefits without any magical substances being put in your body. You guys know what I mean by those, right? I don't need to spell it out, what I mean by magical substances. In other words, if it's coming in a needle, that's probably a magical substance. All right. Without those, you will not gain enough muscle for it to ever be a concern. Okay, so we need to be clear. There is no upward threshold on this. All the data we have shows that there are health benefits to every last pound of muscle that you can put on your body. All of it. Every bit that you add has health benefits to specific blood markers and effects in your body. Okay, number one. Number two, every muscle in your body is going to see a diminished return training it over time. Every single last muscle. So you're going to have almost like what we call a soft cap. People say, what do you mean? Are you saying there's natural limits? Not really. There's a diminished return. And there you can reach a point if you train muscles really, really, really hard to where within a few years, if you do everything perfect, the muscle growth in that muscle starts to become so slow that it may not be measurable anymore year to year, that it becomes so small of an increase until obviously you get older and injuries and hormones and everything create a point where you start to lose it. But up until that point, you can gain muscle indefinitely, but you're going to gain less every single year you train. So each individual muscle is going to get there somewhat quickly when it becomes a lifestyle for you. Do you see where I'm going? So what's then the best way to gain the most muscle is to train everything. In other words, the muscles that don't get trained are the ones that have the most potential to put the most muscle on you. In other words, if you trained everything in your body but your calves for the next 5 years and you did no calf training at all, zero, and you started training your calves, they would have the most potential for quick muscle growth. So you see where we're going with this? If you want to gain the most muscle or to have the most muscle on your frame, it makes sense to start training everything so that you don't have any muscles with large amounts of untapped potential. And it doesn't mean you're not going to have untapped potential. It just means that no individual muscle will have large amounts still left. It's going to be fairly small, minor changes from that point once you've been doing it a little while. But if you can get every single muscle to that point, including your calves, your forearms, your neck, everything. Again, maybe not the front of the neck. There could be concerns for sleep apnea. The back of the neck, though, yeah. Your calves, your forearms, everything. That all adds up. It adds up. You should be trying to put every extra ounce. That's about 50 grams for my people who don't know freedom units, all right, who use the metric system. So you want to gain as much as possible. And people would say, well, why? I don't understand. Because when you start looking at the various health benefits, when it comes to things like improving insulin resistance, lowering cancer rates, lowering diabetes rates, muscle tissue absolutely is the most competitive tissue in your body for these things. In other words, because muscle tissue is extremely insulin sensitive, and when you train it, it's even more insulin sensitive, it tends to compete with things like cancer cells for food. You see where we're going? Your muscles literally compete with tumors to steal their resources. So every pound of muscle that you put on your body slows tumor growth. All right, that's kind of a big deal, guys. That's a big deal. All right, same thing, insulin sensitivity. For diabetes, every pound of muscle that you put on your body lowers your chances of type 2 diabetes. Also makes it harder to gain body fat. All right, let's come back over to that. If we have improved fasting glucose, improved fasting insulin, all these things are low because we've gained more and more and more muscle. And it happens irrespective of what we eat. And when we are also leaner because of all of it. What happens to your lipid profile? What happens to your ability to stave off the worst cardiovascular disease, like heart attacks caused by atherosclerosis? This all improves. That's just why when people say, oh, you can't say that weightlifting is good for your heart. Really, meta-analysis show that it is amazing for your heart. But it's not because the lifting is great for your heart. It's the effects it has on your system in terms of health markers. Okay? That's phenomenal. Not saying you wouldn't benefit from doing some extra cardio with it. In fact, go so far as to say that gaining a lot of muscle through strength training and then adding some cardio on top of it, and then eating a really healthy diet on top of that, well, that's a great way to prevent heart attacks. I think that's a winning combination right there. That's really stacking the odds in your favor, right? Stacking the odds in your favor right there. But we come back over to that point. Gaining muscle tissue improves these things. And again, the best way to gain the most muscle tissue is what? To train every muscle in your body. Because if you are leaving any muscle untrained or not training it decently hard, you're leaving muscle on the table. You are leaving these extra health benefits on the table that you could be benefiting from. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.